We've heard a lot this past presidential election season about enemies of democracy. In particular, one of the candidates in the election was said to be not just a, but the enemy of democracy. Not even that. He was also called Hitler, accused of being a Nazi, and charged with seeking to bring fascism, mayhem, and ruin to the United States and the world. Hyperbole, if not reason, is alive and well at least. So we've got that going for us. But if you think about the enemy of democracy rhetoric a little, I think you'll agree with me that it doesn't add up. It's absurd on its face, in fact, especially when it's deployed by the enemy of democracy's opponent in an election. It's a sustained oxymoron, and it's just plain moronic to boot. I mean, look, you wouldn't run in an election against an enemy of democracy, would you? It would be like competing in a marathon against an enemy of track and field. It would be like playing chess while denying the existence of the oppositely colored pieces, or of the entire board, or of chess as a platonic form. Every move you made would make you look foolish and would unmake the argument you were making that chess did not exist, or that it was in grave danger, which is indeed what happened in the past election. My opponent is the enemy of democracy, so vote for me and not him. This is as patently illogical as saying, there is no such thing as baking, so here, try these cookies I just made. But there's something else screwy about the enemy of democracy business. Obviously, the Democrats, the self-styled champions of democracy, and the ones who claim to be fighting against democracy's enemy, didn't think about what would happen if they lost the election. Isn't that ironic? Yes, of course, Democrats cheat in elections. They have as much qualification to criticize enemies of democracy as Whitey Bulger does to criticize Al Capone. But it very clearly did not occur to the Democrats, the party that has made defense of democracy, as laughable as that is, its calling card, that the 2024 presidential election would have any meaning qua an election. That is, it didn't occur to the Democrats that democracy was a thing. Because the thing about democracy is that there are winners and losers in an election. But the Democrats, bless their hearts, appear not to have thought that far ahead. And this is where things get really funny. Because in the 2024 election, which pitted, we are told, the enemy of democracy against democracy's champion, the enemy of democracy won. Won bigly, you might say. Won huge. And the next day, lo and behold, the champion of democracy conceded the election to democracy's arch nemesis, to the Nazi, the fascist, the Hitlerian wrecking ball of the noble republic. Now, imagine if you had fought a long war against a horde you called the enemies of civilization, and then, having lost, wished the horde well, that being the civilized thing to do. Just like that, what do you know? The enemy of democracy became the president-elect. And we are all to rally around him now because he's the duly elected leader of our nation. For the good of the country. A democracy, we are told, even though that doesn't jive with a republic, but the Democrats never knew the difference anyway. For the good of the country, we must hail the enemy of democracy as the democratic head of our land and the hope of the free, that is, the democratic world. Well, by we, the Democrats don't mean everyone, of course. They don't mean the racists, the misogynists, the Hitlerites, the fascists, the domestic terrorists, the little enemies of democracy, the, garbage of the realm, all the idiots who voted for the wrong person, who voted for the enemy of democracy in an election. By we, the Democrats do not mean the people, that is. The wrong outcome of the election, according to the Democrats, is the fault of the voters. So maybe we shouldn't have had an election against the enemy of democracy after all, because that involves asking the people what they think. And that is the last thing that any Democrat would ever think to do.